We got our hands on a Cyberdark list here that managed to barely miss out on top 8 out of its regional here. So this should give you some guys, or some ideas on what you guys can kind of approach here with Cyberdarks. And we have some Salamangreat as well. I'd be like the 33.8% of you guys that have not smashed the crap out of the subscribe button. Smash it so we can get further along to, I want to get to 150,000 some point here. So the first list we're going to be looking at here is actually going to be Cyberdarks. Now, quick little note here for those of you that are like, wait a minute, there's a Selene in here. Where's the Effect Veiler? They forgot to play the Effect Veiler in here. So all things considered, the Fusion Destiny needs to rotate in and be an Effect Veiler, just so you guys know. Alright, so that's a little disclaimer for shifting to the new format here is -1 Fusion Destiny plus 1 Effect Veiler to fix everything here. So we have triple copies of Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring, 2 copies of Cyber Dragon Core. Remember, this does search for your beautiful Cyber Spell and Trap cards. Guess what these are? Cyber Spell and Trap cards. Easy stuff. We also have triple copies of Cyberdark Cannon, 2 ripple copies of Cyberdark Claw, 1 copy of Cyberdark Edge, 1 copy of Cyberdark Horn, and 1 copy of Cyberdark Keel. And then we have 1 Celestial, and we're actually playing the Plasma in this deck. Now remember, you're not going to get as much value off of, say, the Dasher in this build versus other things. I feel like if you can set up the 3 monsters to establish the Plasma, you're going to get the most maximized value out of that. We also have 1 Eldritch the Golden Lord. Hey, if you need a spot removal, the ability to put up a 3,500 beat stick to close out games, this being a one-of option does quite a lot of things for this deck. We also have 1 copy of Gizmek, triple copies of Gamma, and 1 Driver. Now we're playing 1 Cyber Emergency just for searchability. We have 1 Cyberdark Inferno, triple copies of the Cyberdark Realm, basic stuff here. Nothing really too out of left field for this. It's the best card in the deck. Triple Fusion Destiny. Then we have 2 copies of Invasion, 2 copies of Ice Dragon's Prison, triple copies of Infinite Permanence, and triple copies of Solemn's Reich. So we actually have some sort of defensive plays built into this deck, which is actually really good here. Down here in the extract, we have 1 Underworld Goddess of the Cursed World, 1 Selene, 1 Almirage, the 1 Verti Anaconda, 1 Lina, 1 copy of Unicorn with a 1 IP. Then we have 1 copy of Hida, 1 Hauki Fibrax, 1 copy of Apollosa, 1 Axis Code, 1 Omega. And then we have 1 Anantis, 1 Destroyer Phoenix Enforcer, and 1 copy of everybody's favorite Mega Fleet Chomp Chomp Contact Dragon. We also have triple copies of Drone Lockbird, triple copies of Dark Rule No More, triple copies of Twin Twisters, triple copies of Evenly Matched, and then we actually have triple copies of Solemn Judgment here, bringing together what I would honestly call one of the most innovative builds I've seen in a little while. We haven't seen a lot of Cyberdarks around these parts recently here, so to see that this deck has done well to make top 16 is absolutely wonderful. Next up here is first place 037 Wolf's Salamangreat list that they featured. Now, interesting enough here, Solid is one of those decks that can actually play the Adventurer engine. Lund has told me that Solid with Adventure is a very interesting time, and it does open up some interesting doors. Now, this particular build here is, of course, ladies and gentlemen, I give to you the verdict of the format. We are taking advantage of Destroy Phoenix Enforcer / Scythe interactions. Yeah, we're not playing the Dagda in this build, but that's fine. If you end up, I guess getting to this, it's okay. I guess it's kind of interesting to have built into this, but all right. I don't know, man. Can you really go to the extent of trying to build in some of the more crazier options for this deck? I'm unsure, but we have 1 Lancia, 1 Scythe. We have 2 copies of Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring, 1 Celestial with 1 Dasher, 2 copies of Drone Lockbird, triple copies of Flame Buffalo, 2 copies of Nibiru, 1 copy of Salamangreat Falco, triple copies of Salamangreat Foxy, 1 Gazelle, the 1 Jack Jaguar, triple copies of Spinny, 2 copies of Cossack Cyclone. Then we have 2 copies of Signet Mining, 2 copies of Forbidden Droplet, 2 copies of Fusion Destiny, 1 Lone Pot of Disguises, Then we have one Salamangreat Circle, one Sanctuary with one Will. We have 2 copies of Sanctum. Hey man, free interaction tendies. We have 2 copies of Infinite Permanence, 1 Rage, and 1 copy of the Roar. Down here in the extra deck, we have 1 Update Jammer, 2 copies of Transcode Talker, 1 Splash Mage, triple copies of Sunlight Wolf, triple copies of Al Mirage, 1 Verte Machine, 2 Access Code Talkers, 1 Mirage Dahlia, and 1 Destroyer Phoenix Enforcer. Then we have 1 more Lancia, 1 Cosmic Cyclone, 2 copies of Dark Ruler No More, 1 Harpy's Featherduster, 2 copies of Twin Twisters, 2 Dimensional Bear, triple copies of Evenly Matched, 2 copies of Goes and Match, and 1 copy of Red Reboot here, wrapping up a little interesting experience for Solid. Like I said, the fact that you get kind of interaction points here, kind of spin this deck on its head here. Another circle I think will make this deck a little bit better in terms of just adding to the build, but that's kind of what we're looking at here. Next up here is Sky Striker. Now, I have not seen a Sky Striker list at all doing well without Destroyer Phoenix Enforcer. So the thing that caught my attention with this list was we're actually playing the Toon Table of Contents in here, which kind of expedites an interesting process, lets you search for Toon Cyberdragon. Now, you see this come up every blue moon, because this does give you a free contact option out versus an opponent. I mean, what's your opponent going to do? Ash the Toon Table of Contents, 1 spell in the graveyard. If not, it's just 3 free dumps, and you get a free Cyberdragon to contact with, which, I mean, works for me. The only thing looking at this list that kind of scares me is your bricks got to be pretty bad, and I don't really recommend going this crazy, but it did work out, so that's what we're talking about. So we have 1 Pinkertops here, triple copies of Effect Veiler, triple copies of Ghost Bell in the Haunted Mansion, triple copies of our friend Skullmeister, triple copies of Ray, of course, and 2 copies of Rose. And then we have 1 little Toon Cyberdragon for contact. Then we have 1 Call by the Grave, 2 copies of Foolish Burial Goods, 1 copy of Metal Foes Fusion, 1 Monster Reborn, 2 copies of Pot of Avarice, 1 copy of Reinforcement of the Army, 2 copies of Area Zero, 2 copies of Afterburners, 1 Jamming Waves, 1 Eagle Booster with the 1 Hornet Drones, 2 copies of Shark Cannon, triple copies of Widow Inky, 1 copy of Multi-Roll, 1 Engage, triple copies of Toon Table, 1 Upstart Goblin, and triple copies of Solemn Judgment in here. Seeing Solemn in this list is also very interesting. This looks like it worked out. I'm happy about that. We have 1 Zeke, triple copies of Shizuku, 1 Kaina, triple Kagari, triple copies of Hayate, 1 copy of Celine, 1 Hulk, 1 Access Code, and 1 copy of Chimeratech Mega Fleet. Then we have triple Lancia, 1 Harpy's Featherduster, 1 Mind Control, 2 copies of Twin Twisters here, 2 copies of Different Dimension Ground, 2 copies of Dimensional Barrier, 2 copies of Ice Dragon's Prison, and 2 copies of Mischief of the Gnomes here, wrapping up a different take on Sky Striker. And I think looking at in terms of diversity for a format here, just in terms of, you know, what options are present you can kind of mess around with, it definitely goes to show that you can get some really interesting ideas cooking here. And then the last list I actually have for you guys here is actually none other than Prank Kids or Brave Adventurer. So we get to play the Brave engine in our deck, which means that we get to laugh at our opponent and just tell them no fun allowed. Alright, so we have triple copies of Ash, Blossom, and Joyous Spring, 1 copy of Celestial with 1 Dasher, triple copies of Dropsies, triple copies of Fansies. We have triple copies of Lampsies, of course, and 2 little copies of Roxy's. We also have 1 Griffin Rider, triple copies of Aquamancer. We have 1 copy of Call by the Grave, 1 Draco back with 1 Faithful Avenger, triple copies of Break Our Opponent's Board, 2 copies of LOL Best Card, 1 Instant Fusion, 2 copies of Pandemonium, triple copies of Palace, 2 copies of Pranks, triple Rite of Armesier, 1 Thunder Dragon Fusion, and triple copies of Infinite Permanence. Down here in the extract, we have 1 copy of Verti Anaconda, 1 Rip Roaring Roaster, 1 Meow Meow Mew, triple copies of Doodle Doodle Doop, 1 copy of Bow Wow Bork, 1 Link Spider, 1 Unicorn with 1 Access Code. We have 1 Totally Awesome, 1 Praying Kids Weather Washer, the 1 copy Rocket Ride, 1 Battle Butler, and 1 Destroyer Phoenix and Force. And we have triple copies of Lancia, triple copies of Droll and Lockbird, triple copies of Cosmic Cyclone, triple copies of Evenly Matched, and triple copies of Solemn Judgment Man here, wrapping up this chunk of deck profiles for you guys. Anything really kind of catch your fancy here, please leave a comment down below what you guys think. Make sure you guys smash the leave crap out of that subscribe button so you guys don't miss out on more awesome content, and I'll see your beautiful faces back here later on the day with some more cool awesome content. Peace out, guys. Patrons, thank you.
Thank you so much for watching. Check out these other videos.